Welcome back to the Witch's Way podcast. I'm Kat.
And I'm Jamie. And tonight we are talking about earth energy.
Earth energy.
Which is actually a really, really, really big fucking topic. Like, we thought going through water, fire, air. No,
air
earth
was
is like
huge.
The biggest, though.
Really? I thought air was really big.
But earth is like everything we are.
Earth is everything.
Physical.
It's everything.
It's everything else.
It's everything.
Or it's everything.
Well, this is going to be a 2-hour podcast, so prepare
No.
yourself.
No, not a 2-hour podcast. But, the fact is that earth energy is all around us. It's the ground we walk on. It's the stability in our lives. It's even like the pain and the pleasures that we experience in our physical form. So because we're spiritual beings having a physical experience, all of that experience is all fucking earth magic, technically, or earth energy. Not magic yet. We're going to get into magic in like the second part. But what does it really mean to embody the earth energy, and how do we work with it within our spiritual practice? Because as we start to like dissect this energy of earth energy, you're going to realize just how big it is, and how you're like, oh my God, how does that become smaller to actually work with? It's huge as an idea, as everything that we do. And it's just crazy. So let's go ahead and dive into earth magic as spiritual and magical force that we learn to work with, and kind of like, we're going to go into rituals as well, like honoring it through rituals. So I know this first part's going to be a lot about just discovering, really understanding, because I think when we say earth magic, I don't think I even realized how big it is or how much it encompasses. And you're like, holy shit, it's all earth magic kind of at first.
We live on earth.
We live on earth. We are on the earthly plane. Like, when you start to like really, I'm telling you the levels, it's fucking insane.
So before we get started, we need to warn you that we may discuss death or suicide.
I do believe that. I think
it may come up. So
these are experiences.
Yeah, if that might trigger you.
It could be abuse, death, suicidal stuff. And I'm not talking suicide as the act, but suicidal thoughts for sure. These are all things that we're dealing with when we have the pain parts of being spiritual beings in a physical place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First, let's talk about how earth is our physical foundation.
It is.
Earth is the ground we walk on, but it's also the foundation of our being, our body, our stability, money, and our survival in this physical realm.
Everything.
The earthly classroom, we're, like Jamie already said, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And sometimes it really fucking sucks.
Yeah. I mean, so you could even say like we're spiritual beings having an earthly experience.
Yes.
Like, we call it being human, right? Because that's what we are as a species.
In physical form.
Right. Like, that's our label.
Yeah.
But we're spirits having a physical experience.
Yes.
In a physical place.
Yeah. Dealing with all the earthly things that we have to deal with. Our higher selves chose this incarnation. So that's always a good thing. Yeah. It's always a good thing to remember that, as much as many challenges as we might be faced with.
I was going to say, as much as shit sucks, but Kat said it better.
Yeah, I think, just I can think of times in my life, it's like, why is everything so hard?
So hard.
Why is everything so difficult right now? Why am I having to struggle, especially when I was younger? Just like life
We're all
was.
Young. Struggle is, when you're young, it's a struggle.
Your 20s.
Yeah.
Even maybe starting in your teens. But for sure, your 20s, those are years where you are figuring things out. Mm-hmm. But we chose this. So we believe anyway.
We do believe that.
And that's a personal belief, and not everyone believes that. Yeah. But I believe that in reincarnation, and I believe that we choose our time to come back and who our parents will be. And part of that is the painful experiences, because nobody gets through this life pain-free. Nobody gets through this experience on this plane, on this earthly plane, without painful experiences, because those actually make it clear to us when there's pleasure. So we know the difference between we have something to compare. Yeah. Mm-hmm. If everything was always good and we never had any challenges, how much would we grow?
What would we know about our growth even? You had nothing to compare it to.
Well, and not only that, but how could we feel compassion and empathy for other people if we didn't, if we hadn't experienced things ourselves? I mean, I think that's where that compassion comes from.
Definitely.
Is because it was like, I've been through that. I really feel, I really feel that.
Yeah. I do think that there's this balance that we have to find within the pleasures of being human and being physical, and then like the pain of it also.
Yeah. I think our challenge here is to find that balance.
Definitely.
And those challenges that we experience through this life, they help shape our soul's evolution, and they prepare us for what our next life will be.
Yeah. I do believe that
I don't know if prepare is the right word.
Yeah.
But I do believe that we build through each incarnation.
Mm-hmm.
We build skills. Hopefully I think that's what the intent is.
I think that's what it is.
I think that's what the intent is for us.
That's why it's a classroom, right? Because we're building skills. We're learning things that we can't learn on the other side. We're coming here to be physical. So it's like, let me experience all of these emotions in what is actually a very short time for our souls or our spirits.
It's such a short time.
It is. It's
like I'm 66 now. I'm like, wow, my time here now is really, really short.
44. And I'm like, oh, fuck, my life's already almost over.
Yeah. No, not yet, honey. In another 20 years, though, you'll really feel like that because you're going to.
I already feel the pressure.
Because I remember 44 and I wasn't feeling like what I'm feeling now. Like I'm pushing 70. I'm like, oh, shit.
Oh, you're making me sad. I don't want to think about the loss of my mother. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's talk about something else.
I mean, when I think about the earth energy, it's one of the things that definitely drew me into witchcraft, because I wanted something that was more, I don't have the words to describe what religion is to me as a concept versus what being a witch and like getting into witchcraft and the magic of embracing the earth and all of its elements. But, witchcraft is often referred to as an earth-based practice. Right. So like it is about us being physical. And that's one of the things that I loved about it, because it was embracing our experience here and not saying the little that I know about Christianity, and that I don't know why, but you're just born from sin and you're a sinful person until you repent and die, and then you go to heaven, and then you get to forget everything you ever knew about anybody, but only know Jesus. And so like that didn't click with me as much as.
And there's a reason she doesn't know anything about that. And that's because I
know very little.
Because I didn't raise any of my children with religion because of my own experiences with religion.
It's just, that feels so disconnected from what we're actually doing here, to like give up everything to surrender to one past living being and the creator. It was like, well, how does that honor what we actually are all doing here? You know what I mean?
I know what it did to me, to feel like I always had to be, if I wasn't living right, if I was doing bad things, which I did.
But in some of it, it's like hell. Dancing before marriage is bad. Like I've heard some really crazy little,
stupid shit, right? Like ridiculous.
What do they call them? The little areas of Christianity, like the little, like my husband's family was Episcopalian, which is
different
called
religions.
It's not, but they're all part of Christianity. But I don't remember what that's called. Where it's like you have, so there's like the overarching Christianity, but then there's like Episcopalian and Baptist and
I don't know what they're
Methodist.
I don't know what they're.
But so there's all these little, like, even within that main religion, there's all these little sectors of people that also believe like just little things are bad. So when you say like I was living badly, did you dance before marriage, or like the crazy stuff they come up with?
Some religions definitely are more strict in what you can and can't do.
What's considered bad, right?
Yeah, what's considered against the religion. Actually, it's like actually the way that they phrase it is it's against God.
It's against God.
It's against God.
Yeah. Don't move your body in those ways.
Yeah, exactly. Don't have sexual feelings, because that's a sin, because that's against God's will.
I guess I felt like religion was always denying our actual human experiences, because we weren't allowed to process them, move through them, and learn from them. It was like, it's not okay to make mistakes. And I think that there's so much of our lives where mistakes are how we learn. When I was raising Cameron, I know that was a big part of, as a mom, I committed to allowing him to make mistakes so he could learn on his own what that felt like, so he could get better. But if you're always like protecting the people so that they don't make mistakes, they don't truly know what that is to live out. Like, a mistake you can learn from. A mistake is an opportunity for learning.
I think that because, and we sort of got sidetracked here on what our topic is, which is about earth energy.
Yeah.
But I do think that because religion has played such a huge role in humanity, at least for the last 2,000 years or so, and it still does for some people today, that it's hard to separate the two, because we have people all around us who believe certain things that we don't believe anymore. And
it feels like that's the norm, and it makes me feel abnormal. Not in the norm.
That's okay. I took Tank for a walk this morning and up down to the park, and there was something going on at the community center. There were people like out there with signs and stuff, and I'm like, oh, what's going on? I thought it was going to be like a protest.
Oh, no.
I thought they were like. I was hoping for actually like some kind of a protest meeting where people are getting together and planning some kind of a protest because of the crazy shit that's going on in the country. But so I was like, well, let me just go find out what this is, because I'm being nosy. It was church people. It was church people.
Were they protesting, or were they inviting people?
No, they were like standing out there with signs trying to get people to come in and their little church and stuff. And I was like, that is so weird, because I've never seen church in a community center before like that. I was like, what the?
Oh, because it's like a community center.
Yeah, it's a community center with the pool and stuff there at the park down the street. And I just thought that was the strangest thing. I was like, okay, so we're going like that direction instead of, let's have a revolution.
What, you want to see if they'll like hold a witch church there, and we can stand out with our signs?
I don't know how. Not in this town, not in this state. I don't know how safe we would be, honestly.
Listen, I wouldn't do it because of safety. I don't.
But anyway, we're going to circle back to what we're talking about, because we have really specific things to talk about as it relates to
earth practice.
As an earth practice.
But these are some of the things we're dealing with as physical beings.
It is something that we're dealing with.
I don't think that when we cross over, I don't think fucking religion or witchcraft or any of that necessarily matters. I think it just matters how you interact in this life, and okay, but
so we'll try to stay out of the religion and stay on topic. Religion will have to be
things that we butt up against with the how do you connect? Because I felt like religion really it cut off our connection to the earth. I just feel like it did when I heard about religion. I don't know that they say anything about like honor the earth, take care of the plants and animals.
They don't.
I don't know.
They don't actually.
And I feel like that's a huge practice
not
for
in
witchcraft.
Not in any church that I ever remember any of the teachings. It was all strictly out of the Bible, and read this verse and then interpret this verse to mean that.
But nothing in the verses ever really
nothing talked about. No, I don't know that there's anything. I haven't read the whole Bible. I never will. But I did spend a lot of time in Bible studies and catechism and all the different things that catechism. I was raised Catholic.
Catechism.
Huh?
Catechism?
Catechism, yeah.
It's a new word.
It's the religious teachings for children. That's how you're raised up in the Catholic Church. Oh. You go to I did anyway, we did when I was a kid. Every Saturday we were in catechism, teaching, learning,
I have to look that word up now.
Yeah.
Well, I think the earth part being a core to witchcraft is also because we're looking at like seasons and cycles. And that's a huge acknowledgement within the witchcraft practice, pagan practices, whether you want to call yourself a witch or not. It's like when you really are honing in on nature as the center of our craft. It's like we're honoring the things that are visible, physical, that are right here. And we even think about the earth as this divine feminine. So in one part, it's like earth as this sacred thing that we live on.
Oh my God.
But then earth is also sort of a divine.
You know what? I just totally got a download about that.
What'd you get?
Yeah. So, women have been, we live in a patriarchal society. Let me put it that way. So if we think of the earth as the divine feminine and we look at how I'm not going to say men in particular, how they're treating the earth and how they're denigrating the earth and how they're destroying the earth.
Yeah.
Maybe it has something to do with the mother.
You can see the side by side.
I can see, I just got this shit, they're trying to kill the mother. I don't know that that's really, that's a bold statement. And I don't really think that they're trying to kill the mother, but they're not respecting it. They're not, you got
it feels taken for granted.
You got, it's like we have finite resources here, and they're just being like, we're just stripping the land of everything. So, and I don't know, in my mind, I was just like, how
these are the struggles of being spiritual, being a spirit in a human existence of like, this feels wrong. I feel like this is what leads a lot of people to witchcraft eventually, is they want to reconnect with something that's way more meaningful than consumerism, fitting into the fucking box that like schools taught us to be in, that 9 to 5, like, why are women pitted against each other? We should be like in a community of our own, raising children and growing gardens and having fucking animals and cats and just all that. There could be so much love with females for each other, so much love and respect for all the things that we would do for each other. And yet we're like, nope, you need a man to be valued and you need a title. And, you know, like that's how you're found
worthy.
I was going to say worthy, but I wasn't sure if that's the right word. It's like almost like you've made it, like, oh, you did well for yourself. You found yourself a good husband, or I don't know. I'm thinking back to like movies and lines and the way people thought, like, if that's an unmarried woman, poor her. And if she's married and kids and they're growing old together, it's like, that's the fantasy life that everybody wants, right?
So here's something I know, sorry you guys, we're like listen, this is what happens with us. We can't help ourselves.
Because it's relevant.
Well, but you know what I had the thought of when you were saying that is how many articles, posts, blog posts, or whatever do you see that it's like how to get a man and what you need to do to get a man? And it's always about the woman getting a man, as if that's the end all be all of everything.
Right. Like that should be our major goal.
So, you know, so that's kind of like the emotional part of it and mental part of it. But there's also the physical part of it. So the hardships, like the things that we have to endure while we're here, the pain, the loss, the injustice and that we see towards us as female, as women,
children, animals,
even
other men. What, are you kidding me? I'm going to fuck this up, but the LGBTQ communities, all the people who are fucking different, all the people who are bold enough to live outside of the societal box, the injustices.
So, you know, how do we deal with that? We have to be here. We chose to be here.
We do black magic. No,
I just bought a book called Hex the Patriarchy.
I love it. No, I think we band together. The true thing is that we stick together. That's what we do.
I think so too.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things though that can sort of send us thank you. That's a good word. Yeah. When we see these kind of injustices and we have these hardships and we're like, you know, we want, you know, it can make you want revenge.
It can make me really pissed off to where, definitely. Like I immediately like did my nails. I'm like,
I'm doing my hands. I'm like the evil mastermind.
You can feel it because the injustices affect you so much. Like it doesn't. Some of them never go away. You remember them forever, and it sucks to like hang on to all that sadness and anger.
And you know what I hope? I hope that I get to incarnate at some point in the future in a world that elevates women again, back to harken back to the days when there were goddesses.
Yes.
And goddesses were respected, and the God is love. That's what God's supposed to be. But you know, where goddesses were revered. I hope I get to live.
I think that's why we're here now, is these are the first steps to getting that. I was going to use the word equality, but it's not even that. It's like appreciation for both masculine and feminine, knowing that they exist in both of us, which we're going to talk about in a minute, because that's a huge part of this. Is not. Yeah.
You know, I think one of the things that we can do, one of the things that supports what we feel, is if we research, you know, creation stories from different cultures to get, you know, a deeper insights. One of the books, one of my favorite books, and you're going to love this, The Alphabet versus the Goddess.
I love that book so much.
Listen, The Alphabet versus the Goddess is such a fantastic book.
Yeah.
If you can get it on audiobook, you will absolutely love it.
It'll blow your fucking mind.
It'll blow your mind, and it will also confirm all the things you're like, why in the fuck?
Yeah. But there's so much insight, and you can ponder over the things that this guy, it was written by a guy, Shane.
Yeah.
Shit, I can't remember his first name.
I've got it right there on the shelf. Yep. We're not going to get out and get it. But
he's a neurosurgeon.
Yep.
And he just decided that he was going to take these trips around the world to all these ancient sites. And, this started like in the 80s. And he did not start out trying to uncover like why all of these goddesses were suppressed, written over, and new temples were built on top of them, dedicated towards male saints. But what happened through his travels is he just started to see a theme. And of course, being a neurosurgeon, somebody who's very interested in the way that humans work, and, our anthropology is like, all right, well, I get like human civilization and how we advance, but like, what happened? How come in every fucking sacred spot, there used to be a feminine deity temple that then was built on top of it and went towards a man? It was like, how did this change everywhere in the world?
Yeah, everywhere in the world. Yeah.
And so he goes into this topic, and he did such a fucking good job.
Yeah, he really did.
And it was because he was curious. That was it. He literally explored all of this because of his own curiosities, and then he wrote the book about it. And oh my gosh.
So I think what we can say here is be curious about these.
Be curious.
Be curious about cultures and how things used to be.
Things outside of your box. Yeah.
Yeah. Because these support, they can bring you back to where they support some of the things that you might feel. If you're brand new to witchcraft, you might be wondering like, what's it all about? And then when you realize,
why are we so passionate?
Yeah,
why do we care?
Yeah, like why are we calling ourselves witches? What's
the bold statements for? Why is there so much turmoil around being this, label of a witch even? Mm-hmm. And I think that that's what it goes back to, is because once we've uncovered enough stories, you're like, oh my God, there is a lot of historical stuff that actually references what we're feeling, and that it's almost like we woke up with it,
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So if our spiritual journey is tied to this earthly experience, how can we really consciously work with the element of earth in our magic, right? So you're looking at like your experiences, your consciousness, everything that's put into this. How do we get past? Because sometimes you got to like erase that shit so you can do positive magic, so you're not like drowning in the other shit. But like, how do we work with the element of earth in our own magic? That's where earth magic really comes in, helping us shape the reality of our intentions. And we know intentions is such a buzzword, but
I'm shooing
Tankies.
Go on, boy.
Because he'll bark.
He'll get up on the couch, and then he'll be barking at everybody that walks past the window, or every car and stuff. So he can't be out here.
Mm.
He wants to be by us, but he can't stop himself from barking.
He's very protective over the house. He's like, how dare you cross in front of my yard?
Dog. He's doing what dogs are supposed to do. He's supposed to warn us that there's somebody walking past the house.
Absolutely.
They might be dangerous. Or at least we know they're there.
They're there. He's like, I don't know if they're good, bad, but they're there. And I need to tell you. So this next part is really about working with the element of magic. And I know that like the first part, we discussed a lot of shit. These are to give you ideas of things for you to think about for yourself. But now we really want to tell you how to work with the element of earth. Because it is an element.
It's an element.
We've got fire, air, water, earth, spirit.
Yeah.
So I think we use our spiritual practice and magical tools to call things into our lives, or to push things out of our lives. And it's usually for our highest good, like whatever we want to call in, whatever we want to push out. I think most of the time it's for our highest good. That is how I think about using magic in general, whether it's rituals, spells, manifestations.
And this is the definition of manifestation.
Manifestation, yeah.
This is the definition of So manifesting with earth magic, using things from the earth, obviously, dirt, stones, plants, these things, connecting with these elements
that are physical,
and that are from the mother, the divine feminine mother. They help ground us in reality. It's one of the reasons why we say get out in nature
all the time.
Get your feet in the dirt, get your hands in the dirt.
I have this little pot. It's not a pot. Okay. Do you remember the old glass candy dishes that like kind of have a little pedestal, and it's like fancy glass? They have like a little top. I swear, I think Dennis or Joe had one in their office.
Those are my old bosses.
Yes. When I was a kid and I used to go to her work. Oh, and we would go on the weekends, so the bosses weren't there, but they did know I took their candy. Like it was permission.
They had candy dishes.
They had candy dishes on their desk, and they had these. In my eyes as a child, it was this big, elaborate, fancy office. It's probably like the size of a small kitchen and not that fancy. But back then, that big wooden desk, it just was all intimidating. But they always had these candy dishes, and that's what it looked like. And I think it was Dennis. He had the little mints that dissolve as soon as they go in your mouth.
Oh, yeah.
Dinner mints, or I don't know what they were
I
called.
love those things.
Fuck, I love them so much.
They're so good. I haven't had one of those in 20 years.
I know, that's the last time I remember having them. But the dish, I swear, it's just like that dish. And I remember.
So it has little feet on it?
Yes. And it's got
I love those. They're so cute.
It's got a little, like the handle to lift the glass top off is, it's like the same size as the bowl. And so you've got to be really gentle, and it makes so much noise. So I can remember being in my mom's office, and her office is right next to there. So like if you go in there and you get in the candy board, it's like, it sounds like this. Clink, 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 clink. Like you can't help the glasses clinking together. But I ended up finding one of those at a Goodwill, and I filled it with dirt. And it's actually, I keep the element of earth in my office because I filled that glass dish with just dirt, like some dirt from my yard, some probably potting dirt, just dirt. And sometimes I put crystals in there, but I just keep it in my office as that like representation of the dirt element. Mm-hmm. It's something just weird that I do. Somebody will find that one day and they'll be like, what the fuck is buried in this? That's like one of those things where if you die, somebody needs to go to my house and just clean out weird shit so people aren't going, what's in this? what is that? I don't know.
Well, you know what dirt, what dirt is really good for besides putting your feet in and having under your desk? It's good for writing your intentions down and burying them for manifestation. And also, so like altars, these are great things for your little, I don't know why you would have it on the floor it's on the floor under your desk.
So it doesn't get knocked over.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm worried about it. Like if it was to break and get knocked over, it would be a mess. It would be a big mess.
For sure.
And it's like on the ground because it's like grounding. I don't know. Grounding. It made sense to me.
Well, anyway, I was just thinking about altars, building altars and using things from, nature, like soil and salt and even bones. And, little butterfly wings and, snake skins.
You think about all the things that we have they're the earth element.
Yes.
I mean, we assign them to other things like wings would be air, but truly they all really come back to being an earth element a little bit.
Yeah. So I don't have any bones. Although I do have like a dead insect.
Dead insects. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got plenty of those.
In jars and stuff like that. But I don't have any bones. Do you have bones?
You know what? I remember the first set of bones that I found when I was out walking around in the woods.
You found bones?
I did. Turtle
bones? Yeah. How did you know it was a turtle?
Because the shell was there.
Oh.
Like it was part of his shell. And it was completely white. It felt so, it's weird to say holy. It didn't feel holy because I don't really know what that means. Yeah, but it felt like important because I was on a path, Mom. Okay, like
did it feel like the universe put a gift in front of you?
It was like, here, explore that.
Yeah,
because they were in pristine, like washed condition. There was nothing gross about them. They were pure white, and it was
so they'd been there for a while.
Yeah, but it was on a path that people took. That's what was so weird. And I'm like, nobody messed with these. I'm finding these bones, and so fast forward 25 years. Cameron is walking home one day from school, and he takes a little shortcut through the woods, and he finds fucking turtle bones. And he brings them home to me. Oh. And so in my fairy garden, which is being under construction, I have, and mine was a cracked shell. And so, I found those back when we lived on 37th Street by KU. I had those bones until I went off to the Navy.
15 then.
Yeah, 14, 15.
Yeah.
I had those bones until I went off to the Navy. And then I was like, I don't really think I should take them with me. I probably put them out in the woods. I was like, okay, return to nature. But what was so cool is like my son around the same age, beginning of high school, walking home on a path, found an actual whole tortoise shell. And turtle is the wrong word. Tortoise is the better word. And he brought it home, and I still have that tortoise shell in my garden. And it's probably a gopher tortoise, which are, endangered and protected. Yeah. But it's like, I have it there as part of this. My whole yard probably is an altar, I think. Like I give to it and take from it. And it's like, it's an exchange all the time. It definitely is. But yeah, tortoise bones are my first bones I ever found that I kept and picked up and stuff.
I don't, the only bones that I've encountered are from the sea, You know, the one that's the little round.
Yeah.
What are those round ones that got the little holes in them? What's that from? It's from some kind of a fish or some kind of a...
Wait, what? Spine? Like the
it
spine
might be
part?
a spine. Yeah, it might be part of the spine, but it's circle.
It's round. Yeah, it's the spine
circle,
part.
and it's about so thick.
Technically, shark's teeth are kind of fossily bone
Yeah.
type things. Yeah. But finding bones of animals, I'm not so much for skulls. I don't know. Something about that feels too macabre for me. I'm not that. But I don't know, shells of things.
Yeah.
That what they lived in. Like technically seashells are fucking bones, you guys, okay? Seashells are bones. That's what the animal lived in.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Okay. Enough about that. All the weird bones and things you can take from nature that you find. I mean, we just said we have insects. Those are exoskeleton bones.
And, you know, whatever your comfort level is with these, because for some people, seeing bones might be triggers because it makes you think of, depending on what your experience has been
what's
with
your
loss
relationship
and,
with death? Yeah,
what your relationship with it,
for sure.
And you know, so it might be triggering for you. And bones are, I mean, I think some witches have them and use them and have them on their altars or keep them or whatever.
Things, for sure.
And others don't, and that's perfectly fine.
I've never been a big bone person.
Me neither. No. I just I'm not. I don't.
It's
really,
preference.
Yeah.
But we have other weird shit. Like I have beetles and beetle wings and all kinds
snake skins and
snake skin. I have spider exoskeletons where they've shed. I have big ones of that. Like I do have weird shit, but I just don't have bones. I don't know. We all have our weird ways that we're comfortable with, and just roll whatever you like. And whatever you're attracted to,
But part of that is like this is part of the earthly experience. You know, death is part of that, and animals.
It is,
and animals
everything crossing over. Nothing gets to survive.
All the energy being recycled, and then the remnants of the energy is left behind, and that's bones and shells and skins.
It breaks down, and
things like that. So
So with earth magic and talking about the bones, I mean that's where you can really get into understanding earth magic with your pain and healing, because if you believe like we do that earth is this classroom, you come here to have experiences that you can't have on the other side, which is what we think is, the Summerlands. It's everything is whatever you want it to be, happy and blissful and helping and joy and, interacting with things where you don't have to have the painful experiences. Earth is the place for that. We come here to do the hard things to elevate and grow our soul. So, I think that burying grief in the ground as a symbolic release is something that I chose to do with my dad's ashes. It's a ritual. Every time I go to a new country, a new beach, a new state, a new place, I take a very small, it's like a tablespoon, and I actually measure it out with a tablespoon that is kept just in his ashes, because I never had ashes before from anybody. And there's actually a lot of ashes when somebody's cremated. I'm like, holy shit, that's actually a lot. So what do we do with them? And my dad and I talked about it, and he was like, I knew he wanted to be cremated. And I told him my idea of like, I don't want to just keep an urn of ashes forever and then hand it down to my kid. And then he does what with it. And like, before you know it, you just have the ashes
at the Goodwill or in a dumpster.
Yeah,
I know, because
we've seen it.
I'm in this death care business, and we've actually had people reach out to us because someone found an urn with our brand name on it, and they called us and was like, how do we get this back to the people that who belong to them? Like,
if they gave it away, they don't want it anymore.
Yeah, we can't.
Because they don't know what to do with it.
I know.
I get that. So I had a plan. Dad and I had a plan. And he said he never got to travel in his life extensively. Like, he knew that I was in the Navy and I've done lots of things. And he knew that I would do that again. This is my whole, I came here to travel. I'm telling you, I knew it since I was a little kid.
Since she was 5.
Little kid, I knew. And that's what I said, Dad, every new place I go to, like I'll find a little spot and bury your ashes there. And so I have done it in so many places.
One of your last one was in Paris, wasn't it?
Yeah, I buried him near the Eiffel Tower. There's a tree near the Eiffel Tower, and I just dug a little hole.
I love that for him.
I know.
Love that.
And it's this whole ceremony, and my husband always takes pictures of me, which I'm like, don't make it awkward, honey. Just like, let me have my little thing. You're like, you stand up. If you're going to get a picture, that's fine. But just like, but I write it all down of all the places that his ashes have been buried now. And so that I'm hoping that by the time I pass and I'm cremated, that my dad's ashes are gone. They're buried all over the world. And then that's it, you know? And then I've asked my son to do the same thing with mine when I'm gone. It's like, or if he just wants to take one big trip, I'm also okay with that. But it's kind of this incentive to get people out of their comfort zone and be like, oh, now you have a death pact with somebody where you're like, you have to bury my ashes all over the world, which means you have to travel and have experiences and you have to do new things. I love that. It's like kind of forcing people to go and do more than they might have done before. And they really honor it after death because it's like the dying wishes of your mother, or, you know, it feels dramatic, but it pushes people forward. So I have that where it is my release every time I, you know, take ashes and bury them for my father. I definitely have a cry. It's like each time it's a little like, you know,
release.
Yeah. Ooh, oh, it's building.
I know. Okay, so that's a hard one. That's an emotional one right there.
Definitely. So it's like it's what is your relationship with pain and healing and how you get through it. And that's one of my ways. I also, next to my jewelry, I keep tourmaline. Like tourmaline is one of those stones where I feel like it absorbs a lot of negativity or sadness or anything. And my jewelry is one of the things that I use to symbolize how I'm feeling for the day, what I want to accomplish, like what are my goals, what's my attitude going into an interview or the hospital or whatever the fuck I'm dealing with. It's like my jewelry helps me. I pick it out intentionally. So I keep stones that help me with that healing process. And like, all right, I had a really hard day. When I take off my moonstone ring, it's like it goes back near I have both tourmaline and obsidian there, to just kind of absorb the emotional thing that my ring helped me get through. And then using herbs and natural remedies for physical and emotional healing. My go-to is teas. I have my teas labeled for what they're good for. My husband knows it. And he's really cute. So we have tea every night before bed. And he's like, what do you want? And I'll be like, I want the chamomile with mint for healing. Like not just the normal chamomile. It's like chamomile and mint for healing. Or, you know, he has the turmeric for his blood. And
you're speaking those intentions.
100%. I'm giving that tea intention of like, I drink this tonight because I drink this tonight for. Yeah. But that helps me with my pain and healing and accepting that I am a spiritual being having a human experience that is not always fucking easy. Like it's just not. So I look for the things that provide me comfort and soothing and solace, maybe. So I do want to recommend one thing for you guys. There is another book called Journey of Souls, and it's by Michael Newton. And
it's so good.
Once you get that book, like it'll lead you to a lot of other books within that category. But it is, if you have a lot of hardship around death, past life stuff, crossing over, if your relationship with death is not great and you want to understand more about like why we're here, I feel like Journey of Souls is just such a good place to start.
It is.
And it's by Michael Newton. So just a little resource for you guys. Yeah.
So we already talked about, you know, so how do we connect with the earth on a daily basis? And we already talked about this, like walking around barefoot.
Oh, definitely.
In your grass, in your yard, at the park, wherever, to reset your energy. Because I really feel like you're connecting with the earth. Gardening is also, a way to
anytime plants, animals, all of that.
To get yourself, back to balance. I feel like, to get yourself balanced again. Gardening, also trees, sitting with trees and listening to the wisdom of the trees, hugging the trees. Listen, I have so much respect. I can't even tell you how I feel about big trees that have been here for like 200 years. We had a hurricane, it was Ian a couple of years ago. And down the street from me, this massive tree was
oak tree, right?
It fell down. I'm not sure what kind of tree it was, but it was so big down here at the corner.
Yes.
Down here at the corner. And it was so big when I walked up to it, it was uprooted. So it was like laying on its side. And then so all of the bottom underneath of it was exposed. And when I stood in front of it, that width of it was taller than me. Yeah. And so I took bark off of it, and I'm just like, the energy of this, how long it's been here, what it's seen is like,
I know the endurance that it's
I have that bark still.
Yeah.
I have. So I collect bark from trees because we unfortunately lose a lot of trees here during hurricanes and
big windstorms and stuff. Yeah.
I just feel like their souls.
Yeah.
They have souls.
They have energy behind them for sure. I mean,
and so,
man, that's kind of like a bone.
Yeah.
It's a tree bone. I did a cleanup next to the beach after it couldn't have been Ian. It must have been, what was the one like 6 or 7 years ago?
I wasn't.
Irma.
I wasn't here for Irma.
So when Irma hit, we did a big cleanup and there was a tree that was super old and it wasn't in good health. Like it was hollowed out in the middle, but it had just survived and it was probably 250 years old on this state park. And it got knocked over. It got hit by lightning, like whatever happened to it. It just exploded, shattered all over. And they were cutting it up into sections and they didn't tell us I could go take any, but I just went over and I was like, do. That's mine. I'm taking some of that with me. Because it was this 250-year-old tree that was amazing and stood there before we were even a country. Yeah. I mean, right?
When you think about how roughly, long, I just saw this picture of, I think it was the sequoias.
Yeah.
Okay. And so these trees are like, there's a little man. He looks like he's
little man.
He looks like he's
he's a Lego person.
He looks like he's this freaking big because these trees are so massive. And I saw that picture and I was like, I lived in California for 30 years and I never went there. And I'm so sad that I never went there and saw that.
You still have time.
I do still have time. Yeah.
I want to go. Yeah. So those are the things I think about with earth magic, like being in awe of the things that are physically here and endure.
Creating some kind of grounding ritual for yourself every day is a good way to stay connected with the mother, with the divine feminine mother that supports us all and allows us to live and breathe. And
allows us to be a physical entity.
It allows us, supports us here while we're here.
It allows this classroom to be here.
Is a good way to just stay connected. And every morning I walk Tank and every morning I'm in awe of the sunrise and the clouds and stuff. And I just think that, those kind of rituals where we get out of our house and out of our heads and into nature are so good for our souls, especially as witches and as people, as what are we calling ourselves? We're spirits having a human experience.
Spirits having a physical
experience. Our physical. They are good for our physical because we deal with a lot of shit here just on the regular every day.
I know. And then we get so disconnected from the place that we're actually at. It's like we forget Earth and we think work and money and lifestyle and houses and bills and a lot of the
times we're in survival mode or we're just in automatic mode. We're just in let me get through this week, let me get through this month, let me get through this difficult time with whatever is going on, and that can very much disconnect us from what's really important, which is if we look outside and
there's a higher purpose. You know, it's not just about making sure your bills get paid. Like there's a higher purpose to why we're here. And a lot of us get caught in that, air quotes, rat race of just surviving, just getting through it.
Yeah.
It's like, I feel like we could be so much happier doing other things. Watched a really, I was going to say odd, interesting, whatever. I watched a movie recently and it's a fucking Christmas movie. Didn't mean for, it's not Christmas time at all, but it was on and it had Khaleesi. It had Emily Clark.
Amelia Clark.
I know. I love her. I just I love her smile and her whole, she's got such a grin,
Yeah.
But it was called Look Up, I think, or no, it's called Last Christmas.
Okay.
So a Christmas movie, but
Last Christmas,
it was based on whoever sings Last Christmas, I gave you my heart. Is that George Michael? Is that Michael somebody?
Yeah, Wham.
George Michael, did I get it right?
I think so.
So the whole story is based on his music and stuff. So there's this. Anyways, it's her dealing with not feeling connected in her life and things spiraling out. It's always bad shit happening to her and she's clumsy and she's forgetful and she's just totally not living her life.
Yeah.
And there's such a good resonance at the end of it that connects with the energy of being present. And that's why I said, look up, because it's get out of your phone, look up, look at the world around you.
Yes.
definitely heartwarming.
Social media has not been good for our souls.
There's more disconnect. It's tough, you know, even if you're watching witchy shit, honestly.
And I think the biggest thing with it is like how addictive it becomes to do this. I do it. I do it. Yeah. And it's, Okay.
I was thinking that's like in our earthly world, but it shouldn't become our earthly world. Like, don't become like so sucked into the virtual part of it that you're not living real life. That's the look up thing. Like, get out of your phone, look up, like look around. And he was leading her through there's a guy and he's leading her through London. And it's like all these things. She's like, I've walked down the street a million times and I've never seen that. It's like, yeah, look up.
Yeah.
So it was great. I don't know what made me think of that. Getting out and getting away from your shit. Like, take a walk, get in a garden, explore something new, go down an alley you've never been down, put your phone down, all of that stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So by working with the earth energy, it's not just about the magic, but it's about the way we live and how we interact with the physical world. So yes, this is a witchy podcast and we have magical intent and we want to do things that are wonderful. But there's also this part of us that's like learning to be human again, or learning to go back to basics after we've been so modernized. That's what I think of. I think when I chose witchcraft, I wanted to be less modernized. I wanted to like connect to a root of something that felt more.
Yeah.
Because being modern felt like such a disconnect from that physical world. Our relationship with the earth and our bodies and our natural resources, it all plays a role in how we actually embody the earth element. So our bodies as well. That's like 5 podcasts altogether, right? But it's true. It's like, how do we connect with all the ways that make us physical, in which we exist in this physical world?
And that's what we're going to talk about next, earth rituals and our relationship to the physical world. So earth isn't just something that we stand on. It's something we are deeply connected to in every way, through our food, our resources, our bodies, and our rituals. Yeah. I mean, this round ball that's floating out here, third rock from the sun and all of that, it sustains us.
It does. Makes this all possible.
Connecting with the physical earth is like doing things like gardening. So here's some things you can do. These are some rituals that you can do to connect back to earth. Or the physical.
To like bring in that earth element,
to bring it
into your life.
We already talked about gardening, or if you're not a gardener, plants.
I would say pick one house plant. Like, be devoted to one house plant. I don't care what kind it is.
Yeah.
Could be a cactus.
If you're just starting out, I lived in Kansas City for 30 years and I couldn't grow shit. I actually told myself I had a black thumb.
And that's what Jolene came here saying too.
Yeah. Because the things that I tried to grow died. And you know what I realized? A lot of it was because I would buy them and then I wouldn't pay any attention to them.
You're like, oh, you're pretty in the store. Do well here.
I would forget to water them, or I didn't have enough light in my house.
Disconnect. You didn't learn to take care of it and nurture that thing.
So, tending to plants and tending to gardening, these are things that are acts of devotion, if you will. They're acts of love. Because when you even though my weeds drive me crazy,
your weeds,
when it rains, weeds like sprout up everywhere.
It rains weeds.
And then you're like constantly fighting this battle with the weeds. But there's so much of my yard and I just have, like, compared to Jamie's yard's like a whole nature sanctuary.
Don't talk me up.
Jamie's yard's like a whole nature sanctuary. It's so cool. My yard is very little, but the most beautiful thing to me is to sit at the window and see all the butterflies flying around because I planted plants for butterflies and the birds. So
she doesn't just have grass, which benefits nobody. It benefits the status of, like, look at my green lawn that's perfect and dead and void of life. Like, I fucking hate grass so much because it doesn't support any life. Like, it's just,
we need grass though.
But why? No, I'm going to challenge that. Why do we need grass?
Well, because they got to play soccer and stuff down at the park. There's a big grass, and Tank needs to run in the grass. You can't run.
I have big teeth sucking. I guess we need, like,
but we don't,
fields that people can run in. Okay, fine.
Jamie's going to get rid of all the grass in her yard. That's her goal.
Fuck grass.
So gardening and tending to plants is an act of devotion. honoring stones and crystals, which I just love, and land spirits.
I know, the land spirits thing.
Yeah.
I love how that's really come back around in the last like 10 years. I feel like people are more talking about connecting with people who have lived in these places before, which I've always thought about, but I thought it was haunting.
You know, if we just think about like what was here before, wherever we live, what was here before, because at one time there was nothing. And then and then people came and we tore stuff down, and unfortunately.
We're getting sad again.
It's hard to find that balance between,
it really is,
you know, we need places to live and, you know, things like that. And then, you know.
And then to honor the earth just as it is without fucking with it.
Yeah.
100%.
But, you know, I feel like what we can do in that situation is we can bring that stuff onto our own property where we have control.
There's a balance.
Where we have,
needs to be
where we have control, and we can plant flowers, and we can tend gardens, we can grow vegetables or have fruit trees, or you know, plant a tree and then watch it grow over time. Oh my gosh, that, do you know how I have to tell the story? Because Dennis, my old boss's wife, Dennis, his wife is Mary Beth. My old boss's wife. My old boss was Dennis, and his wife was Mary Beth, and she was a gardener. She had a beautiful yard like yours. She spent all her time out gardening. But one year was it my birthday? It was probably my birthday. It was something. I think it was my birthday. She bought me a tree. She bought me a maple tree.
Aww.
And had somebody come out from the garden center and plant it in my front yard. And to watch, and it was a little thing when I first got it.
It's probably 5 foot.
And and when it was, that seems right.
That's small.
Maybe it's pretty small.
It's small for a maple tree.
It's small for a maple tree. But I was in that house for 22 years. And I probably had that maple tree maybe 10 or 12 years. And by the time that I moved out of the house, that tree was huge and beautiful. It was a red maple. And so every year the trees would turn red. And it was such a joy to look out there. I put lights in it, and you know, when it was summertime, and I could hang bird feeders from it and stuff like that.
It brought life.
I loved,
didn't it?
I loved
love, joy, life.
Yes. Yeah. I loved that tree. I was very sad to leave it, but I couldn't bring it with me because it was too big.
Can I pack that in my U-Box, please?
You know, the other thing about, you know, connecting with the physical earth is building relationships with animals.
Yeah.
And nature as guides.
So when I think about nature as
guides, yes. Tell me about that.
Nature as guides is what is happening outside right now. Can you embrace that feeling and sit with it? When we are in winter, I think that a lot of us go a little stir crazy and we're like, fuck that, where's summer? I want this. You want to change it. It's like you don't want to winter down. And just like when it's really hot during the summer, you're like, I need the fucking cooler weather. We're always pushing for what we want instead of just accepting nature as the guide to what we should be doing. You know, like nature is a guide for us and how we should be interacting with our environment.
So here's one thing that I love to do. I love to walk in the rain. I love to go out in the rain. I love being in the rain.
I remember when I got grounded for being out in the rain and collecting worms when I was 10 years old. She found us out playing in the rain and in puddles and collecting a bucket of worms.
Listen, it was pouring down rain, and they were out in the street, and the streets were flooded. And I don't know why I reacted that way. I should have just let you be. I'm sorry.
Because it didn't fit the box of like, we're going to get sick. We'll get pneumonia. We'll die. Who knows? Like all the fears people put in your head about kids being out in nature. But truly, like, playing outside when it was, as long as there wasn't lightning, I was always smart.
Yeah.
If there was lightning, I wouldn't go out because I knew how dangerous that was. Yep. And even today, I'm like, I'll be in my pool while it's raining. And it's one of the best fucking things ever.
Gosh. I
being
love
in
that.
the ocean when it's raining.
Do you remember when we went to the beach and the sun was shining?
Oh my gosh.
And then it just started raining. We watched the clouds.
It was so wild. Though everybody ran. And I told my mom, I was like, no, we're not leaving. No. And she's like, are you sure? Like everybody left the beach and we didn't leave. And I was like, no, I can see the storm coming in. It's literally a rain shower. It's going to pass. And surely the rain lasted 10 minutes and was gone and the sky was shining.
And it wasn't like a pouring down rain, but it was this soft.
It was beautiful. We were in the water.
You know what? It was magical. That's what it was.
It was
absolutely magical.
Yeah. Rain. Love rain. Yeah.
Yes. So I think so. That's what you mean as when we say nature as a guide.
Yeah. Like embrace that. Embrace what nature is doing. Like really feel it. I love all the times where it changes. You know, if we have like 20 days of nothing but like heat or 20 days of rain, I feel like that's when I get sort of stuck where I'm like, oh God, again, like I need a change, but I try to embrace what's really going on with it. And so, my mother-in-law will often say like, oh, it's crappy out today. Like, look at all the rain. I was like, my yard's happy. Yeah. Like, I look for the positive in whatever nature's trying to give us.
Replenishing us. Yeah. It's
just like the winter helps us be dormant and gives things time to rest so that it can bloom again in spring. So nature is a guide.
So, and that's a perfect segue into this next part of it, which is honoring the seasons and cycles.
Yes.
Which is something that I think as a society, we've got like, oh no, let's stay inside if it's raining or if it's cold or whatever. Well, you know what? No, how about we don't? How about we just go out in it and experience it and honor it and be thankful that we live in a place where it's always changing.
Yeah.
Because we don't get the same thing all the time. That's beautiful.
I love it. I had this crazy, weird poem story when I was in, I don't know, middle school or high school. I really did not like any of my English classes. Not my best subject. I was just like, this is stupid. Science and math were my thing, but
we all have our things.
I know, but there was this one story that I read in one of my English classes that was about a girl who was, so it's futuristic, of course, this is not real. It was a girl who was from Earth and she had to move to a planet where it basically rained like 360 days out of the year, and they would get 1 or 2 days without rain and the sun would come out. And her classmates would make fun of her. So you can see where I connected with like the girl who was the weirdo from another place who didn't understand like where she lived. But this girl, she would talk about the sunshine and the weather and how Earth was beautiful. And all of the kids would make fun of her. And part of the poem was about how her ears would be hurting because it rained all the time. It was like a nonstop noise in her head. And she's like, there's never silence here. It's always pounding. It's always this thunder. It's, there's never any peace and quiet. And one of the days when it didn't rain, the mean kids at school locked her in a closet while they went out and enjoyed the peace and quiet of like the sunshine. And she was locked in a closet. And it was this whole poem about her feelings of being denied what she felt like was her birthright, which was to be in the sun.
Yeah.
And their birthright, because they were born on this planet of rain, was to be in the rain. And they stole that from her. And so I don't know. I'm sure we had to write an essay on it or some shit, but it made me mad.
It was a poem?
Well, it was like a short story poem thing.
Okay.
I don't know, whatever English teachers make you do, read short stories. But we had to
read something and write about it.
We had to analyze that. And I was like, I'm fucking mad. I'm mad. Like bullies, the fact that she got denied what something that I love so much, the sunshine, the warmth of the sun. Like I love rain too, but 360 days of rain to get like, yeah. So
that would be hard.
Why did I even start that story?
I don't have any idea.
I don't know.
We were actually going to be talking about honoring seasons and cycles.
Being appreciative of what you have while you have it, I guess. Like changing with it, going with it.
In all the things, whether it's sunny or rainy or cloudy or hot or cold or snowing.
Find a purpose for them in your own life. Like see what you can relate to it. We talk about our own wintering. We talk about our own, like, what's our spring, and that we can't be in full bloom all the time. Like we have these analogies now that have become very popular. And I think that that's where, we go back to like nature being a guide and aligning our spiritual practice with seasonal changes, celebrating equinoxes, solstices, and just being like, oh, look, another thing is passing. Another time has gone by. Honoring that shift.
The cycles.
Honoring the shift. I think that that's really the point. Yeah.
Yeah. And in these things that we're experiencing in these cycles where we come to understanding, even if it's not at the top of mind, it's intuitive that we know this is the balance of life and death and cycling through earth. And I don't think we realize it, especially when we're younger, that all of these cycles that we go through, they're leading us to a place, which is our time here is done. Yeah. So we should.
It's evolution and elevation of our soul, of our experiences, for sure. Yeah. I love the understanding of the balances, because it's a struggle, to accept that death is part of life.
Yeah.
so something that I've been saying for a while now is like, nobody gets out of it alive. Like to kind of poke fun at it, but we don't.
Well, just to circle back really quick, if you have, depending, what's your relationship with death? How do you feel about that? How do you feel about the grief of death? If you've lost someone, Journey of Souls, get that book.
Definitely.
Also Signs by Laura Lynn Jackson.
Yep.
Signs.
The Light
will
Between
really
Us,
help
also by her. It's very good.
That will really help you understand how temporary, we all know that we're just here temporarily, but it will help you understand that this is not the end.
Well, and we get stuck in our physical experience so much that we don't want to die. It's like, no, that's the part of the natural evolution.
Yeah.
That's what we're supposed to do so we can do something else.
It's interesting because as I'm getting older, like I said at the beginning of this, like I'm pushing 70, right? So my time here is getting really short, and I'm okay. I know not for you, but I'm okay when that time comes.
I'm getting these chairs when you die.
I don't have fear around when it's my time. It just is, and I'll just know that, I don't want to go, but there'll come a point where I do want to go because I'll be pretty fucking old. And I'm like, I'm about done with this shit. I can't move anymore.
Yeah. Can't squat down. I'm wearing Depends now. Like, fuck this. Don't want to be here anymore.
This. I get teeth are falling out.
I think that kind of brings us to the last point of like the connection with like our relationship with the physical world and the relationship and the rituals that we do. How we treat our bodies is, you can think about that as a connection to our earth energies,
Yeah.
How well do we treat ourselves? Because we are also, the physical bodies are the earth part of ourselves where we're spirit and light inside, and we're embodying, like we're in the physical body. So how well do we treat this? They say temple, and, the thing that is supposed to get us through all of these experiences. I definitely didn't start honoring that until I was a mom. And I thought about how I had to honor his body, and like I have a child, and how am I going to help him honor his body? I didn't think about my own before that. And I was 25 when I had him. So it's, I think that's another balancing of pleasure and pain, where food and alcohol, drugs, addiction can all become part of helping to mitigate that pain. And we treat our bodies with that, trying to lessen the burden of what life has done.
Instead of feeling it and then getting to the other side of it.
Going to counseling, dealing with it. It's
getting to the other side of it.
Yeah.
We push it down.
I think for many times in my own practice, I had this whole witchcraft practice outside of my body and honoring the earth cycles, but I treated my body like shit.
We do that. I think we, especially when we're young, we take for granted that we're always going to,
we take for granted our youth.
We take for granted our bodies and the capabilities of our bodies. Yeah. And we don't realize that one day we're not going to be able to do squats or bend down or, like I have bad knees. I can't sit cross-legged.
Yeah.
I can't do yoga because my knees are fucked up.
You can do some yoga.
I can't do some yoga, but I can't sit cross-legged anymore. Yeah. And when I see people doing that, I get really jealous. I'm like, I want to do that. That's why I'm going to get knee surgery.
Dealing with like our hereditary shit, there's the acceptance of that comes with it. You have the pain of like, I lose mobility in one area, but you can have pleasure in knowing that you can still do all these other things. You have your mental faculties. There's a lot of other things that you can still do. We talk about the balance of being spiritual beings or being a spirit in a human body. Like there's always the balance. Nobody has it perfect. There is no perfect ideal thing, And so we're all dealing with like our own version of what our life looks like as spirits in a physical body. Yeah.
So I guess our question for you is, what is your personal relationship with earth energy?
Absolutely.
And how do you connect with it in your daily life? And I really feel that for me as a witch, and I hope this is this way for so many witches, is like, that's where our focus should be, is like, how do we connect with nature and the natural and our natural resources and earth and stuff, as part of our practice and as part of our spiritual path. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like there's where we get enrichment in our souls versus looking to the outside things, the material things of the world that are promoted to bring us happiness and satisfaction. Yeah. And really you can have all the things and still feel empty, disconnected, discontent.
Yeah.
And you're like, what is wrong with me? I have a beautiful house. I have money and all the things that I want.
All the things that people say, this is what success looks like.
This is what success looks like. And this is what
unhappy in my soul.
You just look at commercials. They sell a lifestyle, and then all the people in the commercials are always really happy because they have this, like, all this stuff, but when you actually acquire those things is when you realize how little feeling there is in stuff,
there's not a lot of satisfaction in having stuff.
No, there's not.
I think there's a lot of overwhelm. This is one of the things when you're looking at like money mindset as well, that people will say. So if you ask people like, oh, how would you feel to have, $100 million? And they'll be like, oh my God, I feel amazing.
Yeah, all your problems would be solved, right? Most people think that would solve all of their problems.
Like money would make them happy and solve everything. But the only thing that it does is it can help distract you from the things that you haven't dealt with yet. It can bring physical items into your life. It can get experiences, but it can't truly elevate you in a spiritual way, because it
doesn't feed your soul.
It doesn't go back into you. It's external completely.
It's all external.
That is the kind of earth magic or the earth dealings that we have that's available there, but it's not going to grow us.
Yeah.
It'll give us experiences that could grow us.
I really
but you have to
feel
know
like
how to
we could
spend it and what to do with it.
We've talked about doing this, like having acreage with animals and gardens
Big
and things like that, and our whole family living like on a compound, and getting back to that kind of more a simpler life where you don't have all these outside influences of you got to have the big house and you got to have the expensive car and you got to have all these things to make you happy. No, you really don't. You can really be happy in nature with a garden and plants and your family and cooking food. I feel like cooking, like
meals shared between people.
Going to I have actually decided that I'm going to learn to make biscuits from scratch, like my grandmother used to do. My grandmother was Southern, and she made the best biscuits ever. And I've bought stuff from the store. I was like, this tastes like. I've lately been like, this really tastes like shit. Yeah. I need to make this from scratch because the stuff that's coming from the store is like, it tastes like it's coming from the store. There's like no flavor to it, or anyway. That's one of the things I want to do.
I have that really, really old I think it's Betty Crocker. Remember that really, really old?
My cookbook?
I got it from you, but you told me it was from somebody else, or that it has recipes in it from somebody else. I don't know.
Was it? I think I had one from your grandmother. Actually, she bought me that book. The red one.
That's what it is.
The red one. She bought me that book.
I have that one.
You do?
Of course I do.
Oh my God. I didn't know where it went. I probably gave it to you and
I've been hoarding it. I don't use it at all.
That thing is now like almost 50 years old because John was like 2.
Yeah.
Your brother was 2 when your grandmother gave me that cookbook.
Well,
apparently she thought I needed to cook, but it was a good thing because learning to cook from scratch. That's another way that we can connect back with the earth.
That's
if
the
we
food part of it.
If we
herbs and spices.
From scratch again instead of from a box or going out to a lot.
Growing your own herbs. I'm sorry, that is it's such a huge goal every fucking year.
So these are ways, cooking too. We didn't talk about that a lot, but when we think about food, if we go back to cooking, which I know depending on your lifestyle, depending on if you've got kids and you work 2 jobs, sometimes that's not
practical.
That's not practical. It's more of a burden than anything else, but eventually you'll come to the point, or there'll be times when you can cook. And I really think to connect, I think that there's connection in, taking the flour and taking the sugar and
imagine you're getting your hands all in there,
and then you can stir with intention.
Yes.
So earth energy reminds us that no matter how chaotic life gets, we are always supported. Mm-hmm. We are grounded, we are held, and we have the power to shape our reality. Every challenge we face is just another lesson in this great classroom of life. Mm-hmm. One that makes us stronger, wiser, and more deeply connected to our purpose.
Absolutely. Until next time, stay grounded, stay magical, and keep honoring the power of the earth beneath your feet. Love you, witches.
Bye, witches.
Bye.